What's up, everybody? Welcome to Take on the World. Hey, this is not the secret show tonight because I kind of let the cat out of the bag way early, but it is episode 3. And tonight we are bringing a familiar face back into the house. It's John Pounders. John, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Yeah, man, it's going to be good to be able to like talk to you and actually communicate. We really even haven't, talked in a really long time, actually, since probably actually talked since Take on the World conference last year.
He's freezing.
It's been a while, and you used to have a show on Now You See TV, so this is a cool opportunity to be able to connect with you again, and also to connect with the crowd that you guys have as well, and that we have. Just because I think that I haven't done a live show in like 2 weeks, and I've been kind of on a hiatus because I've got several things that I'm working on that are um, take my time up. I'm a one track mind type person, so if I have any like too many things going on at the same time, I can't really anything accomplished. I have a feeling a lot of people, most people are like that, but it hasn't been more prevalent, I don't think, until like right now. I feel like it just can get less done.
Totally. Well, I want to say thank you so much. Maybe I'll share that quick story. A couple years ago, I saw these two guys, John and John, doing a show, and man, they had so many guests. It was so awesome. And then he makes a mention about one day I'd love to have so many shows, running 24 hours off the channel. And I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe we'll reach out to this guy and see if he's interested in a biblical health show. And we have never done a show before. We've taught at conferences and different things of that nature, but we didn't consider ourselves teachers or anything of that sort. But reached out to you and on blind faith, and man, that's how that all started. You guys said, let's give it one episode and give it a go, and that lasted for 2 years on Now You See TV, and that was the springboard for everything that we've been doing, which led over to Flat Out Insights. So if you guys are familiar with that show, with Michael Solomon, you guys gave us that opportunity, and really put on Michael and what he's doing with his new ministry, Canon Quest, which is amazing. So thank you so much for just having some faith in some people who didn't have much experience, and not that we have much experience in the long run, but you gave us that start, and we're still gaining. So we appreciate that so much, John.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I really, I'm thankful to have had the opportunity. I know that, we have over 1,100 shows on Now You See TV. 1,100 is a insane amount of shows. I don't expect anybody to ever watch all 1,100 of them, but if they felt inclined, they could for sure. We've done so many, and now we're been focusing on documentaries. We've got documentaries in the works. I've got a book I'm writing, and this isn't something I've told a lot of people about. Obviously, the documentary. There's after shooting here soon, we got a couple interviews we have to shoot. We can actually make a pilot for this documentary, but right now, because of the level of the people that we're interviewing and who they are, they can't be. I guess you could say tipped off to who we are. I guess is what I'm trying to say, because it's a interesting process. And on top of that, writing a book. Anybody that's ever written a book knows the amount of effort and appreciation for doing something like that that you want to write to leave not just your generation but the generations behind, and the amount of like pressure that is, and thinking about that when you write words are important, because people can hang on the words that we say. So I'm trying to do it in a very careful way. The book was originally meant for my children, to give to them when I die, but I'm going to finish a volume to release to everybody, just in case that by the time that my children are of age, that they'll have that liberty. They don't know what's going to happen. As you know, and everybody listening knows, we're in dire times when it comes to freedom, and at least in America, and a lot of people around the world have had that. Is my mic not working?
Hey John.
Yeah.
Hey John, your volume's coming in and out a little bit. It fades just a bit.
Can you hear me now at all? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm unfortunately, it sucks because I went to Best Buy and bought these just for this interview because I'm doing this show way away from Indiana. I'm in Colorado right now, and I bought these, but they didn't come with a charger. So I guess they assume that everybody has a USB cord of some type to do this. I don't have this one, but in order to charge it, I would need that. So hopefully, I'm going to try to talk as loud as I can because I know this little mic on this laptop is what's picking up everything that you guys hear. So,
Yeah, I mean, you sound good. It just goes flat every couple like every 10, 15 seconds. It just goes flat for a second. So yeah, you're good. So keep going. Keep going.
okay. So basically, what I was saying is, you know, a lot has gone into this thought process of putting stuff out. We live in a nation right now that is on, there's two sides in our country. There's the two ends of the right and the left wing, and they're both, going for power. And we know that freedoms are threatened every day. We see all kinds of crazy stuff in the media that we never thought would have happened. At least when I thought some of the things that we're seeing, some of the things that we're seeing that are so prevalent would be seen this early. So unfortunately, I'd like to see where I'm cutting out. Hopefully, you can still hear me. I can see how, no matter how loud I talk, my volume just wants to drop here and there, and I apologize for that. So.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Are you? Yep. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So that's weird. I'm actually thinking that it may be me and not you. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. I don't know if that would
It may
affect.
be, but I don't know. I heard somebody say that I'm cutting out on the chat. I'm looking at the chat here to kind of gauge what's going on. Hopefully, people can hear me. If you guys can hear me, give it a thumbs up. Give this video a thumbs up. One of the important aspects of what we do is, and what Chris does, and what people that are trying to do what we do is the value of the people that are listening to the program and them sharing this information out and sharing things out to get it into the right hands. Because the algorithms, the way they work, it definitely is important to value the listeners and all that stuff. I know that it's been crazy, man. I know in the last few years, I think 3 years, we've done 1,100 shows. So to do that and to see kind of the fruit of what's happened has been pretty amazing. It does get stressful at times, dealing with large amounts of people. Like, when you have emails I try to check my emails every day. And of course, I've been behind on them the last few days since I'm working on this, but there's literally thousands of people that are affected by the message that's going out. And so it's an important thing what you guys are doing. It's an important thing to kind of support people trying to get truth out, trying to get things out that are important to humanity. Because in the end, we have a very limited time on this earth to accomplish things and to make things happen, and we don't want to waste that. I think that's one of the main messages I want to portray over the last years, how many years that the Father gives me life, and being able to lead people to that path of salvation. And because the way is super narrow. So I don't know if I don't even remember what your question was or what you were talking about, but I just kind of went off a little bit on the tracks there. So
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I'll tell you, watching Now You See TV over the past since you started your new show, Pounders Live. So here's the really cool thing tonight. This is Pounders Live. We've got you unhinged, uncut, just free for all show like you've been doing, with some amazing guests. And it's all in studio. Plus, what you and David have been doing, and Jake and Dr. Pigeon with On the Mark. You guys have been knocking it out of the park with just not only the the great content, but just the quality of everything, production, everything is just taken up to a whole nother level. And I think that's really showing. Man, I'll tell you that stuff, those shows on Tartaria, with David, man, those are some killer shows.
Man, talk about an interesting topic that is left with a lot of questions. There's so many.
Mhm.
It's something that I had a lot of people that emailed me about Tartaria, and please look into Tartaria, please look into this. And I'm thinking, I've never even heard of Tartaria. I took history courses in college. I took history courses in high school. Never learned nor heard of Tartaria, so I didn't think much of it. But once I stayed at this Airbnb in Fayetteville, near Fayetteville, after the conference there, the Declaring the End from the Beginning conference. In this Airbnb, there were 7 globes in the house, 3 in the bedroom that I was staying in. And on one of them, it was an old globe, and it had Tartaria on it, this huge mass of land all the way across Asia, Russia, and some maps even show it across North America. Like it was basically all land inhabited around Antarctica. And there's legitimate maps that show this. This is a legitimate country, right? This is a legitimate superpower that we had in culture, and so or in humanity's history. And when you look at it and you see that it was silenced, and you can find CIA documents that says that they decided not to write much about Tartaria to kind of cover it up, and it doesn't give specifics necessarily, but it makes you wonder what's going on, and it could be something completely non-nefarious, like they just didn't like them, and they're like, you know what, forget you. We're not putting you in history. What do you think about that? Or it could be something more, something bigger. And I don't pretend to know what that is. I've looked at different angles of this, but it's an interesting subject nonetheless. And I feel that there's something to be found in why they covered it up.
Yeah, Rick Hummer. This is obviously a hot topic with him as well. He's huge into studying and learning about this. He even, we were talking, and maybe he's like, well, if John's coming, maybe he's a little bit more versed in some other aspects of it, but he was like, man, I should do a presentation on this at Take on the World. And so I don't know if he's talked to you about that, but
it hasn't. But he's part of the reason. He's part of the reason that I searched it out too, because he kept bugging me about it as well. And we were here in Denver a few months ago together, and he had my earful about it, and I knew that a show was coming up on it, so I had to do research. And I usually try to spend roughly 40 hours, 20 to 40 hours of research on the show that I do before I do it, just to make sure I have a decent grasp. I never claim to be a professional in any of these things or know everything about it, because I just don't know that that's possible to expect out of 40 hours of research. But at least to look into it and delve into it and see that there's something there is kind of been my goal, and just for a couple shows anyway. So we may do more as time permits, because the way it keeps going is the more we learn about things, the more we research things, the more we find out how dots connect through all of these things. So I'm sure there'll be more on the subject. But just like any subject, if you delve too much time into it, you find yourself in a never-ending rabbit hole where you can't get out of, and you're kind of just stuck in this process. So I'm trying not to do that with Tartaria, but it is one of those subjects you could do. You could get very involved in and completely lose, and it's not necessarily a bad thing to get involved in research, but that's not something that I have been able to, I try not to do that. I do it sometimes. I get on tangents sometimes, but.
Yeah, well, it's a balance, when we look at these things, whether it's biblical cosmology, even down to creation, or topics like this, or conspiracy theories, or understanding occult, some of the topics, if it takes you away from why it's important and why we share it, and it becomes all about that topic. That's where the problem comes in. I think that's where so many people, they just don't have that balance. Talking to guys like David Carrico, whose ministry is built on exposing so much of this stuff, um, always keeps that balance, right? It's right there in the name of his ministry, FOJC, Followers of Jesus Christ, right? It's always focused, taking you right back to Christ and why these topics are important, why deliverance, and why understanding these things. And I mean, I'll tell you, it always doesn't hurt to have a guy like David Carrico backing you up when you're doing a show like this, because it always leads you right back to the importance of why we're doing it. So
Yeah, he gives me homework a lot sometimes. He'll like, I want you to do a show and let's do it about this, and I'm like, oh man, and then to do some homework. And so, like, I mean, it's been pretty cool because just this week I've had the opportunity to finish 4 books. I've been trying to continually keep myself, educated on these things. But, in the end, it's like that is the goal, of bringing them to the knowledge of truth. And then once you're at that knowledge of truth, an important aspect of that is being able to focus on the wisdom of this world, right? And being able to portray that in your everyday life, and make that wisdom known, and also just to be able to live it, because there's great, the foolish man despises wisdom. The Bible in Proverbs, the wisdom of the world is what most people are trapped in. That's why it says the way that to destruction is broad, right? And the narrow is the path that leads to righteousness. And so there's a fine line there, people that want to continually learn about these subjects versus people that want to grow and become who they're supposed to be, I guess, is important. Because, a lot of people that you would ask, I guarantee you that I don't know how many people are listening to the show right now, but half of the people listening to the show, maybe not half, I'm giving a high percentage there, let's say 20%, could raise their hand and say, I have no idea what my purpose is. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm lost. I have no clue. And so it's important to get on that train of wisdom after coming to knowledge of truth. And so there's those aspects of it as well. So you're right. You have to be diverse in your knowledge gain. Why are you gaining the knowledge? I probably wouldn't be studying half these things have I not had to do shows on them. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, the same, it becomes like an aspect of Gnosticism, that people are gaining this knowledge, which propels them to, higher levels. And I think even an aspect of that, it's always we're putting the cart before the horse. And, we spent a lot of time talking about this on the last show that we did, but, when, we put anything above Christ, even his mechanisms of how we love him, his commandments, and somehow they start to supersede him. We're just seeking knowledge, and we're seeking these things, just like how the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they knew all of these things. They knew the Torah through in and throughout, but yet they didn't actually keep it, right? And that's why he says, listen to everything they did or they say, but don't do as they do, for they don't even keep the law, right? And I think there's this whole realm out there where people are obtaining all this knowledge, whether it's conspiracy, flat earth knowledge, all these things, but we have to secondary check ourselves. Is this putting the cart before the horse, and taking away from who the Messiah is? And even in things that are holy and good, we can see that, because sometimes if our attitudes and how we respond, do we keep the greatest of these commandments when we love one another, right? So there's that whole avenue of that's how we know if we're keeping these things, is if we are loving him and we are loving others. Then it's just gonna, we're not having anger, we're not having these issues, and how we respond to people on Facebook and all that stuff, right? It's just that balance, that and I think you guys do such a great job of it. And That's what attracted us, to you guys initially. Learning about Torah and coming into that from that perspective, and then seeing, a balance of that it's all about Yeshua, it's all about Christ at the end of the day, and that was that beautiful harmonization. Um, so yeah, that's obviously one thing that we see in IUC TV. We try to emulate here, with our conference and everything that we do.
Yeah, that's an important aspect to this thing because a lot of people come into, and I give quotes, salvation or faith via Torah, which is always a bad, uh, ends differently than what it started, and that's part of the problem that we face. I think because there's so many Torah teachers out there now that play off of uh, the things that we all realized at one point we've been lied to, right? And without somebody coming to a point in their life to where they've decided, look, because this is what faith is. Faith is a matter of not only believing, right, but walking out that faith in belief. Because if people understand what faith is, and Yeshua said to the Pharisees, he said, this is one of the weightier matters of the Torah. He's like, you do all these other things, you do the tithes, the kuhns, and all these different things. He's like, but you neglect the weightier matters. Like, I'd rather you do both of them, but you neglect the weightier matters. And so the weightier matters that are important to understand. Faith, for instance, people don't really truly understand what faith is in this world we live in. But James talked a lot about faith. Yeshua talked a lot about faith. It's one of the most important aspects of our life. Without faith, a bridge wouldn't be built to another island, right? Without faith, none of the accomplishments that have taken place on this earth would actually be accomplished. And so, without faith in God, without the walking of that faith, just like the person that had to build that bridge, they had to actually go out and build that bridge, right? The person that made Edison, for instance, the light bulb, thousands of times he failed, he finally did it. He had to have faith that it worked, and he had to walk it out in order to accomplish it. That's something that I don't think people quite comprehend in what it is. So the faith is coming to him, knowing him, loving him, and that's not something you can buy. That's not something that's something that is given as a gift, right? It's a gift to be able to even approach God in any way, shape, or form, and absolutely come to wisdom after being a fool for life. And most people, if they're honest with themselves and they read the book of Proverbs, they will see that in their life they have played the fool for many different parts. And there's nothing greater than meeting salvation. When you come up in it wrong door, then that's when the problem comes. That's why we see so many anti-Messiah people now. They call them, I guess, the popular term is anti-missionaries, right? We see these people that are going against it because they came in through the wrong door. They came in through the door of obedience, not the door of Yeshua that allows us to be able to understand and to be able to live according to the spirit of the Torah and according to the Torah in general. Because living out the Torah, you could live out the Torah and be evil in your heart for your whole life. Evil, given the opportunity to produce evil things or do evil things, you may actually step over that line and do them. But because you're bound by these laws, you don't do it, right? That, to me, having it done in your mind, and I think Yeshua quoted, you did this in your mind, right? This is even just as bad, if not worse, than doing it openly. And so we all have those things that we need to understand and comprehend, because without him, I don't believe that it's possible that people can be righteous, because you look at the children of Israel in the land of Egypt, right? And when they were roaming through the desert, they had the opportunity to see God work in crazy ways that many of us have never seen. Yet they were grumbling people. They disobeyed. They did all those things. And so if those people couldn't obey and couldn't comprehend what was before them, how can we do it without the Spirit of God? And that's what I think that it's important to understand. And it's been really it's underplayed in Western religion and also in Eastern religions as well, but it's underplayed in all religions because I feel and I firmly believe that most of what we call as standardized religion has been infiltrated, and it's been given to us in a way that we will never truly understand the availability and the who we are really. You know, we're under a curse, and people don't realize that curse that we're under. They don't understand the curse, but in order to break free of the curse, there is a guidebook and there is a guide and a way to do that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, you wrote something the other day on Facebook where you wrote, about talking about ignorance is bliss, right? And so, you wish you could go, sometimes you wish you could just not know what you know, because ignorance is so bliss. And there's people out there that are openly deceived without knowing these things, and yet they don't have to face the trials, the tribulations, the stress, that those of us that are in the know of so much, that we have to face continually, because we become more accountable to these things, being in the know. And there is obviously this level of bliss in not knowing. So I don't know, maybe if you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, um, so obviously we know that it'd be great to be able to trust the people that are in power over us. It'd be great to be able to trust that people are doing everything in our best interest. It would be it's a wonderful thing to think that, because that comes with a lot of peace and a lot of joy, I guess you could say. Um, but ignorance is joy, right? Ignorance is bliss because you don't have any knowledge of what's greater. And yeah, the Solomon said, "With much wisdom comes great sorrow," and unfortunately, that's the truth. But I feel like the only way to um, be able to reach who we are and reach the Father is to break out of that ignorance cycle, um, because many people live in that cycle. I think I was for what I've been writing, I've been looking at statistics, and 90% of people that work a normal job, they hate their jobs. Actually, 80%, 90%, they don't like it. Hate their jobs. And 35% of our waking hours are spent at our job and 90% of us hate. And this life has been designed to captivate us into its I don't know how to explain it, but I hate to use the word matrix, but because it's something everybody uses, but into its matrix of what is socially acceptable, what is important, what is what we should attain, right? Those things that we should attain, and by doing what they're doing, they're keeping us off of what is eternal, because a lot of people don't realize they're immortal, right? They have an immortal purpose in this life, and being able to see that side of it as something that I believe that even among Christians and among people that do believe, they've done a very good job of pulling them in. The Bible says not to be conformed by this world, but be renewed by the renewing of your mind, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And most things, and this, Chris, you remember in high school, everybody had high expectations for what they were going to do as an adult. Everybody has that dream, that sparkle in their eye that they exuberate when they have life and they see it with full responsibility. But something happens to people, I think, around the age of and I don't know, it could be younger for some, but around the age of 25 to 30, where they realize that their dreams may not be attainable, and they see it with failure, and not being persistent. They see it with their family, because your family will ultimately tell you that some things aren't possible. Why don't you get a real job? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? This would be great. Why don't you join the military? All these different ideas that your family has for you, and not because they don't like you, but because they want you to fit into that mold that they've seen in society ever since. And so the trick is not to be the person that jumps on that bandwagon just because your mind's telling you you can't do it, or somebody else is telling you can't do it, because that would be conformity. That would be conforming to the world, and we can, in order to be who we are, in my opinion, you cannot conform. You have to do things the way that you see them to be done, hopefully through the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, because that's the only way to live for an eternal purpose. And so anyways, that's kind of breaking down a little bit of some of the stuff I'll be writing about in this book, because I want my children to understand this. Like the reason I wrote the book was 100% for them. And so to me, it's so important that they get these words before, because anything could happen. We could all die tomorrow. We could die tomorrow. I could go out and get hit by a truck tomorrow. You could, Chris, anybody listening, literally die. So I want to have words that I give them that are sincere, and to the best of my knowledge, will help them and guide them through life. And so, anyways, that's yeah. I don't know that answered your question, but I think I changed the subject a little bit.
What do you think? The chances are you'll. When's the book set to launch?
Oh man, I'm literally still writing it right now. So my plan was to come here and just basically knock out as much writing as I could. I'd love to have it done by Take on the World. I would absolutely love that. And I'll see how it goes, because every time I go through it, I end up writing a little bit more or whatever. And I don't want this to be a huge, massive book. I want this to be a practical book that my children can look at and see. Well, this is the blueprint, right, to finding truth and to being able to seek truth out on your own and to be able to understand life. And so it's a volume one. There'll be more volumes, I'm sure, as time goes on in my life that I write to my children. But hopefully by then, that would be amazing. I think I can at least get one volume done. I probably have one volume done that I can probably release around that time. And I'm excited about it. Like I said, man, we don't know when we're going to die. We don't know what chance we'll have to tell anybody about what we have come to find out. And I think that there obviously something's driving me to do this. I want to do this, and with everything. And I think part of it was my father passed away at a young age, and I'm thinking, I could do that. Anybody could do that. Do I want to leave something for my children? Do I want to make sure they know what I believe? And I think I have 1,100 videos they can go back and kind of piece things together. I want to make sure that they have this that they can take with them and really, hopefully, when they're ready to receive wisdom, because it takes that readiness to receive it. They can read that and benefit greatly, and hopefully anybody that reads it can read it and benefit greatly off of it. So,
yeah. So your boys are 7 and 5, right?
Yeah, 7 and 5. Yep.
Yeah, and then your daughter, she's almost 1.
She's a little over 1. She'll be she's like 1 month and 1 year, or 1 year and like 6 months or something.
Okay, nice. Okay. So what do the boys think you do? What do the boys actually think you do?
They think I'm a YouTuber. That's it, because they like they don't know what they don't know. They're like, so Daddy, like who sent you this box? Because we got the silver YouTube button, and so I don't let them in on everything that I do. They learn over time. I teach them what they're capable of understanding, and but they know I'm on YouTube, and so they that's what they think. I guess I don't know. So.
Yeah. Well, have you told them that the Earth is flat yet?
I've told them that they need to seek that out and really put understanding on it, because honestly, like that's what we're all called to do, is seek understanding on things, no matter what it is. I'm not going to force an idea down anybody's throat, because I've come in the last 3 years to realize that the first year that I started out versus this year that this is the third year I've been doing the IUCTV. I've been observing and following, trying to follow wisdom for 10 years now and follow Yeshua. But I've learned so much in that process. I'm afraid to be definite about something that I'm not 100% definite about. Of course, I believe that the scriptures describe a enclosed earth. I definitely believe that, but I do want to leave it open to people to, because really, and you can't make somebody believe it. Somebody has to want to be open to the idea that it's even a real thing before you can even convince them. Because you can go out and tell people all day long, and you guys have seen some of the videos where people talk to people about flat Earth, and they quickly get shut down and persecuted and everything along those lines. So I think it's something people need to search out. Just like everything, I mean, one of the aspects in this book is that you have to seek things out. You cannot rely on a man or woman for interpretation of what things are. You can't do that, because that is where you fail, because the Bible says you only need one teacher, and that's the Holy Spirit that'll guide you into all truth. And I believe that firmly, that if you rely on that versus relying on a man to teach you about things, you will learn far more than if you read 5,000 volumes of books, because you'll be guided in a path that you need to be guided. There's 5,000 books of a bunch of bullcrap that people might hang on. There's so many people that just write stuff to write it. And you don't know, it's hard to filter through what's true and what's not true. And you could spend lifetimes reading through all the volumes of books that have been printed.
Yeah, and that should give us some confidence, because what you spoke is absolutely true. And that should give us confidence, especially, a lot of us who may feel like we're laymen's and, why do I even have a show? Or, or anybody who may be just new to this, right? It's not about what you know. It's about who's guiding you. Are you listening? Are you open to hearing him? Are you getting in the word and allowing him to speak? And it's like we can all be revealed his truths if we're seeking and following in his ways. And that should give us a great confidence, because you look at guys like Dr. Pigeon, David Carrico, guys like Gary Wayne, right? These guys are like brains on steroids, right? And we look at them and go, wow, so much information these guys have. And then we can go, you know what? We can have, what they have in regards of the truth. We may not know all the details or this, but we can jump into the scripture and allow the Holy Spirit to guide us to those things. And that should give us all confidence, as believers in the Messiah. I think that's so cool. And thanks for sharing that, because not all of us, I think we need to hear that more often, and I think it's such a big thing.
Yeah, it's huge, man. It's when you look at the wisdom, you look at people like Gary Wayne, David Carrico, all these people that have vast amounts of knowledge, and you have to realize that these guys, that's part of their thing, right? That's part of their calling. That's what they do. They seek these things out and they do this. And not everybody's called to that, right? We're not all called to know everything, but we're different. All of us are different. We all have specialties that we are. I mean, it's weird, but when you really think about our DNA, we have different things that we're good at. And so to embrace those things and be able to do what you can in your expertise, because I guarantee you everybody listening has something that they not only love, but they're also super good at because they enjoy doing it. And when you can, take those things and put them to use for an eternal purpose, that is an amazing thing. And I think that I'd love to see more of that in the body, for sure.
Yeah, I mentioned in the last show, that, reminding ourselves that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. That is a truth, and even if you don't feel it at times, it is a truth that can't be denied. And I struggle with that, and but that always takes me back, that very simple truth of scripture, that you've been fearfully and wonderfully made in his image. Those are things to give us confidence, and continue to do what we do, whether it's, go through the grind, share your faith, which is so much more important than even just people, teaching or being in front of the limelight. Whatever you've been called to do, do that to your best ability. If it's to be just, a guy who goes to work and does that, and be a great dad, be a great husband, do that to the best of your ability, and then I always, I've always was told, be faithful in little and you'll be faithful in much. And he's preparing us to be faithful in little so that when we get much, we can be trusted with that. And I think you're a great example of that, John. Starting Now You See TV off as, you know, um, really you did it 9 years ago, right? But then it didn't really kick off until 3, 4 years ago, right?
Yeah, I've been doing it on and off for a while, but yeah, basically, it came to a point to where I knew that the message that I wanted to get out, and this is important to understand. This is one thing I wrote about, because the message that I was trying to get out wasn't acceptable in a mainstream church environment. And I knew that because I performed big shows in front of thousands of people in the churches, and these ideas, this scripture wasn't. So I knew that I had to take a different. I knew that I had to pave my own path, I guess you could say, because I tried to integrate, the truth, and having people understand that the Holy Spirit is our teacher, and that we need to, you know what I mean? Like that was my kind of goal, and to be able to do that and teach people that faith is about works and about doing faith without works is dead. To teach people that, like, that was important to me, but yet I got shut down by a lot of different places. I remember we played at this huge United Methodist church, and it was a really good experience for the kids there, because a lot of them were willing to repent, etc. But the board of the church wasn't very happy with it, because instead of seeing that all these kids are repenting and they're wanting to come and be holy before God, they were seeing it as, well, these kids are doubting their salvation. When before the whole thing, I saw the pastor, or the youth pastor, and he had told me that a lot of the kids were getting in trouble. It was just they're just wiling out, I guess you could say. And so he ended up getting in trouble too, but it was worth it, I think, for the kids that get to hear that. But I knew that I couldn't continue that path. I mean, the record label that I had pretty much I had started with a couple other guys was asking me to tone down some of the things I said, and really you could compare it to some Paul Washer sermon type things that I was speaking, because really you can only plant a seed, right? But the right seed of the gospel has to be planted, and a lot of these churches, believe it or not, don't want that right seed of salvation to be planted. And so I came to a point to where I was realizing that I had to do something different. So that's when the IEC TV channel that I had, I only did like one video every now and then back then. And I decided I'm going to go all in on this task, because faith without works is dead. If I have faith, this message is for everybody. If I have faith, this message is supposed to go out, then I should walk on it. If I don't walk on it, then I don't have faith, and I don't believe that it should go out or will go out. And I don't believe God's the most powerful being in the planet or in the world, and not, I shouldn't say planet, in the entire universe. He's the one that created life. He's the one that did all these things. If I don't believe he's behind me on this, then what do I believe? And so I just decided, this is what I'm going to do. There's no backup plan. There's no plan B. I'm going to do it. And that's basically where we're at today with this whole thing. And of course, my ambitions for what I wanted to see happen are probably outside the realm of most people's thoughts that are possible. And maybe they are. I don't know, but I don't want to believe that they are. I want to believe that it's possible. But I love to see companies, that are out there promoting propaganda, the media, the people that are promoting the Luciferian type agenda. I'd love to see me be able to stand in that giant's face and do something about it. Now, this is a big thing that's going to take a lot of time and resources and everything to accomplish, but that's the whole point behind all this, because right now they're acting unbridled, and there's nothing that's standing in between them. We have a lot of Christian movies and a lot of Christian things going on out there, but like to see, for instance, this new movie that came out the not X-Men, but Avengers.
Avengers. Yeah.
You know, the amount of money that was put into that, the amount of people that saw that, versus the amount of people that will see a Christian movie come out. Which, when I say Christian movie, I want to preface that by saying, you know, a lot of them are cheesy, right? A lot of them are whatever, but I'd like to see the amount of money being put into these be put into productions of interesting stories that actually happen. You know, given the technology we have today to make things happen. But you know, you can think of an instance where Elisha is coming down from this mountain and he summons bears on these people that are, you know, these stories that actually happen in the scripture coming to life in like a real life scenario. And just a lot of different things that can be done really to combat. And I feel like most people feel like it's impossible, or there's fear involved, because once you reach a certain level, you become noticed by whatever that power, whatever, you know. And I believe it is literally in the scripture it talks about Satan. It talks about his seeds that he's sown, the people that are there, and the people in high powers, the spiritual wickedness in high places notices you, and one of their tools is fear. And they'll fear you into believing they're going to hurt you, or they're going to shut you down, or they're going to do this or that. But the Bible says that the fear of man is a snare and a trap. And so that is what usually happens when people reach that level. They become fearful because they know that what they're dealing with is bigger than them. But what we have to understand is the one that lives in us is actually bigger than that is in the world. And so we have to remember that and keep that going. I think a lot of people have come and fall because they can't remember that. And it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to stare down the grizzly in its face, you know, when it's looking at you and telling you it's going to put you down. You know, but we see David going against Goliath, a 10-foot giant, and taking his head off. You know, he took him down with a thing and he lopped his head off. And we see this kind of thing happening for people that will have faith and that will move forward, undoubtedly moving. And so that's an amazing thing to ponder, because Yeshua himself said, "My children will go on to do greater things than me." And so there has to be something wrong with our faith. And we see this in other countries that have to believe in faith. Right now we have faith. The faith that we have for our health is like, who do you call when you go down? You call 911, right? If you go down, your heart's beating funky, 911. That's the person. That's who we call on for faith in this country, because that's, you know, it's common sense. You go down for a heart attack, you call 911. But in other countries, they don't have that. They only have God to look to for faith in their situation that they're in. Just like Job, when he had all those ailments, he only had God to look to for his faith. And you see these kind of miracles taking place in other parts of the world, not in America. But if we can fathom that stuff and be able to move like Yeshua told us to move, then I believe that, you know, it's quite possible that it, you know, I guess I don't want to make that statement. It's very possible that if we can move in that faith, that things can change for us, right? You know, it says if we humble ourselves and pray, he'll heal our land. And that's what I'm hoping for. You know, at the end of the day, destruction comes to everyone. Everyone dies at one point or another. The end has to happen. And so being prepared for that eternal purpose makes greater sense than being prepared for just a physical purpose of doing one thing or another, because in the end, that's all any of us have. Everything that we gain on this earth it will disappear and fade away, right? It'll be we can't.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
You know, the one thing that I wanted to do real quick is actually, I don't know if I even shared this with you. You know, I think I did. But Now You See TV was not the first impression of John Pounders. I actually found you on a website called Rapzilla, and Rapzilla put out a track by this guy named JGP, and it was called Wild Ones. And I'm like, every time they put out a new artist or something, I check it out. Who's this guy? So, I went down this track, and this is before I even know who you were. and I was checking out some of the artists that you had, and it looked like you had a little movement, and that I didn't know what was going on, because I've been around that scene for a while, and I'm like, man, they're putting out some nice videos. And then I found this video. Maybe you find this funny. I found something that was like, you were talking about shake that belly.
Oh yeah. I
Yes,
was
I did.
it
I
was it
was
like a
actually
YouTube?
was going to
Was
ask
it?
you, what was that about?
I don't know. I can't remember, man. You'd have to show me. There's
And you were talking about something about shake that belly, and you were referring to yourself in there, but I don't know if this was something you did at shows. I was like, I had no clue, but
I
I
have no.
remember.
I can't remember. I mean, I'm sure I did that at some point because I think it's fun.
I made you
I
uncomfortable,
probably did. I
right?
don't remember what that's. You have to show me that, dude. I don't
Yeah.
doing that on camera, but it is very possible that I did. So I have to.
Well, no, you didn't do it. You were talking about doing it.
Oh, okay.
So I don't
Well, I
know.
don't know. I know
Yeah.
for a music video, one of my artists did. I did this like kind of belly dance for his video. It was kind of funny, But I don't know.
So I don't know if everybody knows. Maybe if you could share, what you were doing before Now You See TV. I mean, you were a record label owner. You were putting out some really good work, and you can still go and hear that song. It's still on YouTube, and you can go hear John lay down some bars in there. So it's JGP. So I'm throwing it out there before he tells you don't go look for it.
I'll go for
JGP.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, Wild Ones.
It's out there. It's
So
not hard to find, but yeah, so I've never considered myself a rapper by any means. Now I have done some rap songs, and very very seldomly will I do something. I actually just did a song not too long ago on Now You See TV's YouTube channel about called Illuminati Zombie, and so I have to feel the need to do it. Like there has to be like something being like, do this. Here's the words, do it. And when I say here's the words, like I can freestyle sometimes, and usually I'll freestyle. And if it's something comes out that I like, I'll have it recorded, I'll write it down, and then I'll produce a track. And so for that track, I just threw a beat on, and then boom, I started freestyling, and then pretty much within 30 minutes, I had the track edited, everything, and I threw it out. And that's the kind of stuff I like doing now. I did it back then. My goal with the record label was to actually reach the inner city and to go into prisons. We went into prisons and we would do shows for people there, and we would talk to the prisoners. And I tell you what, man, some of the best times I had were doing that, because I would get. I think the one prison we went to, I've got probably 1,000 hugs before the whole thing was done by these prisoners that listened to what we were doing and had enjoyed it, and it was really cool, man. And that's what it started as. It kind of blossomed into being a little bit more. But yeah, man, it was cool. It's just, God made me to do something just a little bit different with it. Music is not, I love music, but it's not, it takes a lot of work to be an artist. And some people are way more gifted and talented at it than I am. So I leave that to them. I know where my giftings are, where my talents are, and I try to use those in the best and wisest way possible. And so that's why I only do a song every now and then, because that's not, I'm not like some of these guys. Like there's an artist called Seven. I don't know if you've heard of him, but that guy can literally, like, he is anointed to do what he does. There's no doubt about it. Like his lyrics are so gifted that that's what they do. And I'll leave it to those guys. Every now and then I might throw something out, but
Well, yeah, hey, that I found that so funny. When I found Now You See TV, and I'm starting to put the pieces together. Even well, it was after I actually knew who that when I was on Now You See TV, when I was pulling those pieces together, going, I already knew who this guy was. I downloaded the song, and I had that in the music library. So it was quite funny, when you go back and find that stuff, and you're like, wow, that's interesting, right? So, but everything is a stepping stone, in ministry. If how we were, whether we ran youth group for like 15 years, that was a stepping stone for the next platform. Then we were doing health conferences, and that was just a stepping stone towards doing Take on the World. And what is Take on the World? If it goes away next year or 2 years or 3 years, whatever, what's the next thing that he has for us? Or, so all those things are preparing us for what he has. And I think that you're just a great testimony to that, of, all your different steps that led you right to where you're at right now and what you're going to be doing in the future. And, that even when it's tough, even when we struggle, when we have all sorts of issues, we're being refined in this process. And, that's something that we often forget about and that we remember is, we're going through a season, and seasons change. And, when there's ups, there comes, there's going to be downs, and vice versa. When you're down, the only way you go is up. So just
Yeah,
stay
everything's
faithful.
a step. Yeah, you're right. Everything's a step, right? Everything's a stepping stone. We can't fully do something. It'd be like giving somebody, if I gave a poor person, somebody that never seen over $20,000 in their life, if I gave them $100 million, it'd be like expecting, instantly getting to where we want to be would be like somebody doing that and expecting that person to be able to handle that money wisely. We have to go through phases in order to learn, because you can't just be handed something big and then all of a sudden know how to run it. You have to be given it in small increments throughout time to be able to understand what you're going to do, because there's a lot to it. There's a lot to growing and doing things that is beautiful, but at the same time we have to learn, and that's why mistakes are important to understand, that we have to make them, and they're actually good. The world expects you to, and I feel like this is the common problem that a lot of people have, is when they fail one time, they're like, well, man, my mom was right. Maybe I should just go and get my college degree. Or, man, this person's right. I'm not going to be able to do this. But really, it takes failing over and over and over again so you can understand how to get it right. Because people aren't going to willingly give you the keys to the door usually to tell you how things are going to work, because it's not as easy as just telling somebody. They literally have to experience it and move through it to understand it, because you can tell people stuff, but unless they grasp what it is they're doing, they tend to not truly understand. And so failing is important, and people that fail, I think this is a great encouragement that next time you're going to be closer, as long as you don't do the exact same thing you did. Next time you're going to be closer to succeeding and continuing that process of faith that you will succeed, and faith that you have the tools to do it, and just moving forward and doing it, I think is a lot of people trick out when they do that. They're done. It's like, oh man, first sign of persecution, I'm done. And I've been that. I lived that life for many, many years before, all this, that life of giving up easily and moving on to something else because I thought it wasn't going to be easy enough. And so you have to realize that nothing that worth doing is easy by any means. You have to strive and you have to do your hardest, because in the end, it's, there's going to be people that, give excuses. Oh, that person's only doing good because of this. And they're only, they got lucky, or, this or that. But the fact of the matter is, anybody you see that accomplishes anything strives and does really, really hard work to get to that point. And, the people that demean all that, usually they feel in their heart that they can't accomplish it. So how can anybody else accomplish it? And really, it's not that they can't accomplish it. It's just they've never pushed past that perseverance point that we all have to push past to do it. And that's an easy trap to fall in, being a part of this world that we're in. So,
Well, I think, with everything, obviously, our faith in Yeshua is the most vital aspect of what keeps us pushing and keeping going. But within that, he gives us amazing helpmates in life. And I'm nothing without without Liz, and how she helps from every aspect of what we do. She helped set up all this tonight. So, I really do nothing without her, so I'm going to give you this opportunity. Your wife has been there with you well before is what I've known. So maybe you could share a little bit about that, and really, how she kind of maybe is kind of that helpmate behind the scenes, and give a shout out to her as well.
Well, yeah, you said something really important, and I feel like having a good wife or a good husband, for that matter, depending on male or female. If you have a good wife, you have something that's a gift, right? That's speaking of that, that's my wife calling right there. I'll have to call her back.
Right on time.
But it is a gift of God to have a wife that is gives herself to what you're doing, and you give herself to what you're doing. You're working together as a team, because part of the mystery, that was spoken about, to become one. This is an important aspect in life. It's important to find somebody that we are yoked with, and if we don't, then we've all made our mistakes. But I wasn't that person that at the time I was when we first got married, I was as confused about the world as anybody else, and so was she. We were young, and so thankfully the Father has restored our marriage to a point to where we are working together. We are one, and she is a huge help to everything that I got doing. If it wasn't for her, I would never do the books on IUCTV. I don't even know how to do them. I would never do any of that stuff. I don't know. All I know is go and do, and or all I can concentrate on is one thing at a time. So go and do is my concentration, and hers is the things that have to take place in order to do what we do. We're not a 501c3. We do it because we don't want to be. You can see the future trap that could get us in, to not being able to say what we want to say, in fear of losing that 501c3. So we do things 100% as a normal business would do, because sure, it would be great to get the donations for people that want to use it as a write-off. It would be amazing. That's why churches do it, because they get some people write off millions of dollars to them, right? And they can't do that through our ministry. But we feel it's important to maintain control over what we speak, over what we do. And I feel like the 501c3 could limit that, and it does have a clause in there that limits that. And so anyway, she, in the back end of things, if it wasn't for her, I would be lacking majorly, and I'm just thankful for that, and for her raising our children. We have 3 children, and she raises all of them and teaches them. And man, I couldn't be more blessed in that sector of my life, and I'm just thankful. And I hope the same for all of you. For any of you young people listening that are looking for a spouse, it's important to find the qualities in a woman that are exhibited in Proverbs 31. And because if you have a wife like this, she's worth more than rubies. She's worth more than anything. And so also for a wife that has a husband that exhibits the qualities of what a husband should be, has a valuable gift as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and speaking of marriage, there's a great marriage coming up, great wedding coming up. Let me say that, and that's obviously somebody else that is so vital in, what you do with Jake, and obviously, great brothers, and I think all of us, every speaker that we have, or every people that we are close with, they. They're so instrumental in just even the encouragement, or just in your case, just the the daily process of what your ministry does. And so obviously big shout out to Jake, and super excited for him. And that, what an amazing story, of coming to that relationship with Sierra. And so yeah, we're super excited. And I'm gonna throw out a big shout out to Tony Stover and Ian Chadwick. They're working on their film Covenant Warfare, and that's going to be all about marriage, guys. That's going to take place at Take on the World 19, and has a lot to do with everything that we've been talking about. There's going to have special guests in their documentary. I can mention that I'm in it. I don't know if anybody else here wants to mention if they're going to be in it or not, but it's going to be absolutely awesome, and so um, need it for everyone in repairing marriage, strengthening it, growing. And so super excited for that to come out and just be able to reach the people that it's meant to reach. And so be on the lookout for that. You're going to get to see it in its entirety at the conference. We're going to take out time and watch that film there.
That's going to be cool. Yeah, I got the chance to be involved in that documentary. Tony came to our house, and yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see what he does with it. I know that that I'm definitely looking forward to that in the future. I was just getting ready to say that before you said it, to that people that kind of want more insight into that situation for us and for other people that have gone through marriage. Marriage is an amazing thing if it's yoked marriage, and even a non-equally yoked marriage can turn out positive. Father can heal minds and heal hearts and wipe away tears, and I've seen it happen.
Awesome. Yeah. So what else has been going on? So, I mean, we've kind of really kind of gone around. I mean, what's the next move for John? I mean, you're writing the book, you're putting out the documentary, you're speaking at lots of conferences. The next conference you've got coming up is the Way Walk, right?
Yeah, Way Walk, and then I've got, like, if people want to see the conferences that I'm going to be speaking at this year, I'm only speaking, I think, 3 or 4 more this year. I think it's 3 actually. If you don't include, we have Sukkot every year, but 3, and I'm not speaking at that. I just go in and attend and enjoy. So these are I'm only speaking in actually 3 conferences more this year. Way Walk is one of them in Michigan. Take on the World is another in Ohio, which is your conference you guys are putting on. This will be my 3rd year coming to this conference. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I met a lot of amazing people at the last one. It was just awesome. And then there's a new conference that called Raising Up the Remnant, I believe, is going to be in December. And so we've got all those things going on. Those are my main places that I'm speaking at and trying to focus some energy towards. And then, this different stuff that's going on. I can't remember what I was going to say, but yeah, those are going to be important. I really look forward to those. And this is my chance to actually get out and meet people that listen to the show, because, a lot of these people have seen me hundreds of times on video, but I've never got a chance to actually meet them face to face. And some of them are familiar faces that I did get a chance to meet. And I'm always loving that interaction with people, because that's really that's important. Fellowship is important. People don't understand the importance of that sometimes. You can come together as a community and hang out together. To me, that's an important time and a great time to be able to. Almost everybody that leaves these conferences leaves with a sense that they don't want to leave. Like, they're just thankful to be in the presence of others that they can feel comfortable with, and that they can sharpen each other. And so, I don't want people to come just because they want to meet John Pounders. I'm nobody special. I want to make that super clear. I'm just a human, just like anybody else, along with the rest of the speakers that are going to be at these things. My main goal is to be able to meet you guys, and so it's, obviously, Chris, you put on several conferences. These speakers don't come do these conferences for monetary gain, because there is no monetary gain by coming to these conferences other than merchandise sales. And even then, you still have the expenses of not being able to get things done that you need to get done back at home, or you have all these different things. So people tend to believe that these speakers and myself and others get paid lots of money to come do these things, but the reality is we're doing them because of you guys. We want to meet you guys. We want to be able to give our thanks back to you for everything you've given to us and done for us. And so I really expect and hope to meet most everybody listening to this chat tonight to be there. So
yeah, no, I'll say that's probably the really cool thing is what you said about the aspect of fellowship. So many people in this community, whatever community you're coming from, at Take on the World, we try to have so many different like-minded communities sort of come together. Whether we're in the we keep the commandments camp to hey, we believe in biblical cosmology camp. We're in the SRA camp over here and deliverance camp. We have a really nice realm of everybody, and at the end of the day, the harmonization, the fellowship, the brotherly love for our commonalities of of Christ, really unites us at the end of the day, and you know that's such the really cool part about the whole thing. And we sit back, me and Liz, we work tirelessly all year, and every person that's putting on a conference right now or has, they know exactly, you work so hard to put on the conference all year long, and then you get to the event and you see your hard work take place. Really, that's when the Father shows up, and then his work begins. The divine appointments of this person was supposed to come to meet this person. And we hear so many things from kids that become pen pals, and they send letters off to each other, and then families who keep the feast together for the first time. Just amazing stories like that. And down to speakers who then go and baptize one of the people who want to rededicate their life, or they just came to salvation for the first time, or just came to revelations of the scriptures for the first time in their life, of something much deeper than what they've known, after they realize they've been misled in so many areas. That's the really cool part. We do that for his work to shine and his glory to gain. And so it's so tough to put these events on. It's grueling. It's challenging. But at the end of the day, at the end of the conference, you're wiped out. But then people start sharing their stories and their testimonies, and what it meant to them and what it meant to their family, regaining their marriage. And that's what we're so excited for. Because there's a lot of really great events this year. So if you can't get your hands on on going to every single one of them, pick one, and make it the best opportunity, and really get involved when you're there. Meet friends, meet people, and spend time with them. That's my challenge to you guys. Whether it's just going and starting your own Sukkot, or one of the feast days, do something of that nature. Jump in and get involved, and do something where you actually will start to develop that fellowship that is so dire and so needed, especially in this community, and not just be online. And meet those people that will be your encouraging forces for every aspect of your life moving forward. So that's what's really cool. That's what we're excited about. I mean, last year we saw a demon being slain on the front grass. Tom, Jared, Nathan Reynolds, they were out there, and you saw this possessed girl getting delivered. And what did she want to do right away? She wanted to get baptized. She wasn't even there for the conference. She wasn't there to hear anybody speak. She needed deliverance. She needed someone to pray for her. And she came, and it was a wild scene, but it just showed how how it pulled this whole thing together, this really heavy spiritual realm. And we know which side wins out at the end. So amazing stuff. So many. Waywalk is coming up. That's the next one you're at. Take on the World, and then Raising Up the Remnant in there. So there's so many events for you to get involved in. The Now You See TV Sukkot. George Mott has a Sukkot. That's in Michigan. So there's a lot of stuff for you guys to get involved in. And so we encourage you guys to just pick something. Pick as many as you can. And obviously money's an issue, but pick something and get involved. So
I mean,
that's my encouragement.
it's important to get it early too, because they could be sold out. I know that, like, for Coat, for instance, like that, like I'm pretty sure that before we even mention it publicly, just emailing the people came last year, most of the campsites will be full, and that's something that people need to think about, for these events. You never know when they could sell out. I know that, once we can get you on Now You See TV too, to kind of mention it, maybe hopefully, because there's thousands of people around the United States. I mean, and so whatever you're closest to, whatever you feel like you can make is really important. And it helps support the people that do these conferences, because it's not easy. I've done conferences before. I think, in fact, the first time we met face to face, Chris, you came to our first Passover conference that we put on, and so that was hard. It's hard work. People don't realize the hard work that goes into these things, and uh, it's definitely important to support the things that are of God and holy, because many of us will put thousands of dollars a year into the other camp without thinking twice about it. But sometimes, as soon as we think about doing this for things we're really passionate about, it becomes a burden. We need to really, it's important to focus on what's right and what's true, and be able to further those things. Without us furthering them, they just die off. And so we saw a big die off in conference for a long time. I think anybody that used to be around, several years ago, back before these conferences started popping up, it was a wasteland. There was a few here and there, but there were none really like what's going on right now. And so it's gonna be cool. Chris, I got to use the bathroom, man. Can we? I gotta use the bathroom really quick. Only take me about a minute. Can we? Whatever you want to do, it's your show. But if there's any questions or anything like that, people want to get out.
Yeah, I can get. Yeah, go. I'll gather a few questions, and then I got some hot seat questions, and then yeah. So yeah, go run, and then I'll get Kevin Stoll to gather some questions from the chat. So Kevin, if you're watching, hey, go ahead, shoot me some questions. And we'll go ahead and ask those. So we'll here on the Secret Show. So if you guys are new to the Secret Show, we did our first episode with Jeremiah Dirt. So you guys want to go check that out. We did the second episode where we just kind of went all in for like 2.5 hours with Alan Aguirre. And we kind of talked a lot about some of the things we talked about tonight. And it was really candid. So go check that out. But always what I've done is we've done some hot seat questions. So this is your chance. I can't pick every single one of them, but if anybody's in the chat that's moderating, if you got either my direct cell line, send me a text. If you're not still there, or if you want to message us on Facebook, either through Liz or through Take on the World. So go ahead, drop some questions in there. And they don't have to really pertain to anything we talked about. So there's your opportunity. And I'm going to come up with some fun questions for John. So so if you're out there, please do that. Actually, I'll check the chat too, because if nobody's out there going to send me anything, I'll read some fun stuff in there. So I'll take this opportunity to also share about Take on the World. A lot of people are new to hearing about it. This is our third year. So we did 2017, 2018. So Take on the World 2019. It is a full 4-day conference. We have 3 speaking presentation days where we have a conference, and then we have a worship night on the Thursday night, which is a separate night. We also have a full kids program, and we also have a full teens program as well, and it's set on beautiful Beulah Beach, right there, right on Lake Erie. So check us out, takeontheworld19.com if you're out there watching this. And I'm going to jump into the chat. Maybe all the mods left, so because I'm not getting anybody to send me anything.
You got some mods in there, KC Gonzalez, JJ.
Okay.
So I see like one question in there so far. I'm trying to look.
Okay, yeah. See, you're already on top of it. See, when I pull up the chat, it does not. It slows my computer down so much, so I have to check everything from the phone. So, well, if you want to read that question, John. It slows my computer down so much, so I have to check.
Um, yeah, let me find it again. Wow, let's scroll through pretty quick here.
Yeah, if one of the mods want to put it up there, I'm jumping in.
I lost it now.
This is why having a moderator is so awesome. Even when we did so back in Now You See TV days, it was so awesome when we had Patricia, John, or Jake or yourselves, because you guys could always field questions so easy for us. So if you go back and look at any shows that me and Liz did by herself, we never answered one single question because we can never pull it up. So
It's not easy, man.
that
I
is
usually, like if for the Midnight Ride, we have Donna Carrico that gathers the questions for us, and some of the moderators on YouTube center questions, and we have the private chat. It's hard to do by yourself. It's like it's really, really hard. So I'm having trouble keeping up with the chat, and I'm looking right at it. So I see
well.
Chad, Disputed Lands Chad asks, do you have trouble seeing your food when eating with the size of that beard? Sometimes I have trouble losing the food in my beard. That's the most important thing, because I don't have a big mustache. My mustache, I keep it kind of trimmed because I can't stand whiskers getting in my mouth and in my nose and stuff. So I just keep. Plus, I can't grow a great mustache. There's some people that can grow these magnificent, like huge Teddy Roosevelt mustaches, and I'm not one of those people. So I can see my food just fine. It's just I get lost in the beard. I have to wash my beard out like 4 or 5 times a day to keep it from just getting gnarly. It's like your hands. You got to wash your beard too, especially if people touch it. And people, for some reason, people love to touch people's beards. It's really odd. And
Well, have you ever gone anywhere with food in your beard?
oh, I'm sure. My wife, she never tells me when it's in there. I don't know if she just doesn't notice or whatever, but yeah, definitely have.
Well, thanks, Ian Chadwick, who is on Take on the World TV. If you haven't seen his new show, the Reality Distortion Effect, check that out. He kind of threw a softball at you. He said, "What's your topic for Take on the World, if you have that?"
Okay, so I'm speaking one time, right?
Well, I haven't actually told you how many times. I actually have you down for multiple sessions. So you let me know how many you want, and I'll plug that in. So I have you down for multiple
What are the
times because you'll
categories?
be there. You'll be there longer this year.
What are the categories that you have me in speaking at? Like,
I have you on the main stage. So main stage is anything you want to talk about.
oh man, I might even get into Tartaria. I might get into. It just depends on how many times I'm speaking. I got several things that I've studied up on. So, that's a good question. I think that I want to hear what other people want to hear. I want to hear what do you guys want to hear me talk about? And obviously, I feel like I wanted to definitely talk about just renewing the mind and stuff, at least at one point, one of the speeches and one of the.
Yeah. If you guys haven't seen that presentation, I'm not sure if that's on your channel, John, but that is definitely in the subscription network that I know for sure. That alone is worth taking out some time and watching that presentation, whether it's on either one of those platforms. That was so needed, and it was amazing. And I know that was what was on your heart last year. And I did look through the way walks. So you'll be doing a take on that presentation at the way walk, correct?
Yeah, because this is part of the book I'm writing. Part of my whole process in life is being able to try to go through wisdom and being able to renew the mind in a way that is important, because we all have a lot of things in our life that have torn us down. All of us, even the people that seem to live a charmed life, and I use that with quotations, charmed life, have gone through some pretty horrific things at one point or another. And then there's people that have gone through way, way, way worse things that you can't even imagine how horrible the things they've gone through are. in order to break free, I guess you could call it, one has to overcome those things to move forward, you know. And so it's an important thing for my life, and I think that's one of the reasons I continue to talk about it, because the more I'm studying, the more I'm learning about it, the more I want to relay that message as one of the most important messages that I have, you know, before everything, you know, comes to an end, you know. So
Awesome, awesome. Let me check. You see anything else in there?
I do. I keep seeing see questions. There's also. Are you looking at the same chat I'm looking at? I see how far
Yeah,
back we are. What would be
mine is
cool?
not refreshing.
What would be cool is
There we go.
I'm gonna designate one of your chat. I think I'm gonna designate KC Gonzalez, because you guys are probably friends on Facebook, and I'm gonna say gather the questions and send them to Chris's messenger so he can ask them. If you don't mind, man, I greatly appreciate it. That would help, because I have a trouble keeping track on my screen. The stuff is so small on it, I can barely see what it's saying. I've got my glasses on today, but I'm not that close to the computer, and it's very small text, and I've got, yeah. Anyways, that's enough excuses. But so yeah, if one of you guys could send them to him on Messenger, would that be cool?
Yeah, I did see another question, and it was for me. Shane Brock asked me, "What's my favorite part of Take on the World?" That's easy. That's clearly the fellowship. I ride around on a bike like 90% of the time, going checking on every single stage. So I get to fellowship with everybody all the time. I'm the only person at Take on the World that has been in every single presentation. So I make a point to go to every single presentation, and we had 70 of them. So I was inside 70 presentations last year, whether it was for a minute, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Some, there was one that I got to sit almost all the way through, and then had to bail out and go to the other two. But that's easily the fellowship by far. John knows the one night we stayed up, that John had to leave early last year with David. And all the guys, we stay up till like 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. So it's easily the fellowship. You just can't beat it. So yeah, by far that's the best thing. And because that's really the encouragement. That's my favorite. But the most important thing is, I already mentioned that is, him getting all the glory and letting him do all the work that he has set out to do through the conference. So by far, that's the best part. My favorite is the fellowship. So yeah. So if I don't see any,
We had some fun nights, man. You guys stayed up super later than I did, but I stayed up till like 3 in the morning every night at least. And I don't know how you guys did it, because some of you guys were up like. But
yeah,
Jake was
well,
my roommate, so he would come in at like, I don't even know, like the sun would be coming up, and he'd go to sleep, and he'd be bounced right back up like an hour or two later. And I'm like, man, I don't know. You guys can do it.
well, Robbie Davidson didn't sleep, right?
I know you said that. I can't. That's so outrageous to me. I would be absolutely worthless if I didn't that whole time. I would be worthless.
Yeah, and he did a presentation the last day, and he was sharp. So I don't understand. So
I don't
yeah,
either.
he was drinking some serious heavy caffeine stuff, like 5 Hour Energy, like probably 8 of them. So crazy a day, probably 8 a day, probably. Plus, he was drinking things that I don't approve of. Like I saw him drinking a Mountain Dew, like with heavy caffeine. So yeah.
I'm drinking tap water right now, which sucks because I'm in this place. This is not my house, and so I've got to go out to the store. I've been here for 2 days, and I haven't left to go to the store or anything. I've kind of been, I did have to go to the store to Best Buy, but I forgot like half the stuff that I needed to get when I was getting out. But got these, and they absolutely don't help me for tonight. Unfortunately, you guys can't hear me because I couldn't get these going. So
Awesome. Well, okay. So here's so everybody that's come on the channel. Um, I get to ask and I'll let you can, okay, so here's how this works. I get to ask you a hot seat question, and um, then you can ask me back. And then,
You can ask me
you
whatever
can,
you want, man. I can't promise to have an answer for it, or
yeah, so you can decline.
you can ask me
So
whatever you want.
some questions I'll have to phrase into a form of a question to get you to do what I want you to do. So earlier you mentioned about freestyling. So I'm gonna throw you on the spot, and I'm
Not
gonna
gonna.
pull up a free beat on YouTube so that it's royalty free, so you guys can't do anything to this video. Um,
Get,
and
let me stop. Let me
give you a
stop
second.
you real quick because I guarantee you right now is not a good time for that. I'm not gonna. But I
Okay.
appreciate the offer. But I'm just,
So you could, like I said, you could decline. So all right, so I'm gonna have to think again.
I'm running on roughly
So
like I'm running on maybe 4 hours of sleep, and I don't, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's gonna happen tonight, but that would be fun, I guess. But not gonna happen, man. Not on live.
well, yeah, we've already chatted so about something else that may happen at the conference. So we're not going to talk about that now, but because that's still something that I got to get you some information on. Yeah, but while I'm thinking of something for you, I'll throw you on the spot. I mean, you can ask me a hot seat question, and you know, um, I can decline. I try not to decline. You know, Dirt tried to get me to show a picture of me wearing, or what I look like with hair. Um, and yet I still haven't shown anybody that yet. I was supposed to do it on the Alan Aguirre show, and I forgot to do it. And I
Do you
promised
have a
everybody.
wig? Do you have a wig you can wear?
I don't have a wig I can wear, but
You should
I
wear
can
one. You
go.
should wear one and take a picture.
Yeah, right. I could go get. I could go
Get,
get.
get a long hair wig, man. You got to do it for everybody. Get a long hair wig. Long hair. I just want to see you with long hair.
Well, I'll throw it out there to the chat. I mean, if anybody wants to see this, if oh, here we go, Kevin Stoll. There you go. That one does it. Nope, nope. Okay, nope. That's not a question. All right. While you're thinking, I've already made a huge promise. I'm gonna do it. So if you want to think of a question for me, I'll be back in 2 seconds. I'm gonna get that picture and show the world how not cool I look without hair.
All right,
Or
guys.
with hair.
You guys, while he's gone, you guys have to help me with what I should ask him because I don't have a hot seat question in my mind. So, you guys put something down in the chat, and I will ask him. I'm going to try to increase down to 80% there. So, give me a hot seat question for Chris. No limits. Tell me what it is. Get a hot seat. Straight off the press, man. Just straight off the press.
Okay. Now I'm gonna preface this. I needed a haircut really bad, okay? But this is a senior picture. If anybody's ever seen the Goldbergs, I don't know if you've ever seen that show before.
The gold.
Goldbergs.
No, I've never seen it before. No.
Okay, yeah. So if anybody's out there that has ever seen it, there's a character on there. His name is Barry, and what's so funny about it is he wears clothes because it's a show that takes place in the 80s. But there were a lot of. I actually own one of the shirts that he wears. It's this maroon and green shirt, like a polo type of shirt, long sleeve polo. So it's so funny, and I had really bad hair like he does all my whole life, so I kind of relate to how bad he looked on the show. But so there's kind of like a little bit of like TMI information. But so so this was what I was supposed to show in the Dirt episode, but I didn't. So this is my senior picture. You can see my the basketball that. So there it is. That's what I look like with hair. It was really bad.
You look like one of those Italian kids, man. You just look Italian. What is your
Um,
You look Italian now. You look Egyptian. With the hair, you look Italian.
right? Yeah, yeah. Well, that's kind of a mystery, I guess. I guess I'm just um, a collage of a bunch of things. But I would just end up being white at the end of the day. So nothing real, nothing cool to write home about. In the summertime, I tanned real well, so I've even had a lot of people think, which was really funny. A really funny story is Liz's mom was at her friend's home, and she had it was an interracial marriage, and she said to Liz's mom, um, asking for advice, like, what do you do? You're in the same situation. She's like, what are you talking about? And they go, yeah, Chris, he's black, right? And it was, and so she's like, no, no. So it was really kind of funny, because all she knew of me was from the summer, and I was super, super dark, and she had thought that I was black. So, you have short hair, and yeah, it was really funny. But yeah, so I'm all
Yeah,
sorts of
I
stuff.
could see it, man. I could see how somebody. You just never know, man. When there's so many different shades of white. It's amazing. I grew up in South Texas on a border town, and like almost everybody was Hispanic there, and there's like 1% white, but there was no black people at all there. It was just all either Hispanic or like 1% white. When I moved to Evansville, Indiana, I'd never seen so many shades of white people, and I didn't. It was just strange to me. It was like a whole nother culture, and I never seen black people, and so I was just. It was like, wow, man, I've like lived in this country, but in a whole different culture for 14 years of my life. It was strange. You just never.
Because where are you originally from? Are you from Texas?
Yeah, I grew up there. I moved there when I was one. I was born in Evansville, Indiana. My dad moved there when I was 1 years old, and we lived there till I was 14. And it was an interesting time period, for sure. I wrote a little bit about it in the book that I'm writing. So it's an interesting time period for me. Just I enjoyed it, and at the same time, like I wasn't aware of all the things that I became this way. It's just different, a different kind of culture in general. Um, Definitely. So I,
Awesome, man.
I
Well,
am white. I am white, so I'm not bashing white people. Somebody might be like, "Oh, this guy's trying to bash white people or whatever." I am white. As you can tell, my skin is pretty pale. Uh, so I'm not trying to like bash white people because I am white. All colors are awesome.
w-
So
well, proof that you were white. You were in a heavy metal band too, right?
man. I was in a heavy metal band in a couple of them. I played in bands when I first moved to Indiana. I started playing in bands with my cousin. Uh, Shoot, until I was like, I don't know. I've been 20 something years old, 22 maybe. So yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you've kind of, you'll have many volumes to write with all the things that you have done. So,
I'm not writing
um,
all the things I've done in the book. I mean, just basically about because really, like, what happened was the reason I wrote about this is because it was me moving became an excuse for me, right? An excuse for me to give up, or excuse for me to be bitter, or excuse, for whatever reason. Because it was a shock moving, like for real. Like it was like all my friends that I know my whole life in a whole different culture. I was living on a ranch, went to living in the ghetto, like an instant switch. Things changed. My family dynamics changed, and so I used that as an excuse to perpetuate this constant state of giving up and constant state of like just really kind of giving giving up's the best I could say, or just not understanding life, and we're basically a slide into just foolish behavior in general. And so that's why I write about it. I'm not writing about every experience for sure. I'm writing this to my kids. They if they ask about the experiences, I'll tell them, but it's not something that I want to detail every aspect of and focus on for sure. But I definitely talk about that. That was a interesting. There's a lot of people who go through that kind of stuff. It's weird, but when you allow excuses to kind of drive who you are and what you do, um, that becomes who you are in a way. And I allowed that situation along with others to become who I was and all this different stuff. So yeah, but anyways.
Yes, somebody just said they had emailed a couple questions or messaged them over, and I'm not seeing them come through on anything. Let me check the messages. Here we go. Here we go. I got them. Okay. Okay. One question was, okay, here we go. Another was, what do you consider the filling of the Ruach HaKodeshes?
Feeling of the Ruach HaKodesh. So like
Filled with the Holy Spirit. Yeah.
you know, I think that that's something that is experienced by those who have had it experienced, and they felt that the Holy Spirit administer what was going on, you know, and so now there's differences levels of this. Obviously, we see Samson. It talks about the Ruach, put him on like a vest, like put him basically the way it's worded. It could be like associated with like put Samson on like a garment. And there's different levels of this being filled with the Holy Spirit. A lot of people think being filled with the Holy Spirit may be a point in reaction where you're falling on the floor or doing all these different things. But what I would say is, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I know for me, it's been situations. You were talking earlier about the situation with the girl with the demon at Take on the World, and I was walking with a plate of food, and somebody came and ran into me basically and told me that, hey, go up on the hill up here. You know, they need you up there. There's something going on. And I heard screaming in the background, but I thought it was just somebody messing around. And so I walked up the hill, and this is the part where you feel what the Spirit might be saying, right, in your life and in different situations. And I can talk about my first of what I felt like was the filling of the Holy Spirit as well. But in this situation, walk up, there's a girl, there's people around her, and this is what I remember happening. And they're all, you know, yelling, you know, kind of like speaking to this girl, and she's on the ground, rubbing her face in the ground, uh, concrete. She's got some rug burn on her knees from rubbing on the ground, laying down. And I heard the verse in my head, like, you know, whatever you want to call it, the verse, perfect love casts out all fear. And I saw that, you know, she was still in this intense state, no matter what was being said. And so I grabbed her by the head and I said, and I asked for her name and from her friend, and I got her name, and I told her I wanted to talk to her, and I found the spirit that was over her, right, that was taking over her, and asked her if she wanted to be free, and she said, yes, it hurts. And she growled it, you know, yes, it hurts, you know. And so basically just be gone in the name of Yeshua, right? You know, this thing, it had to leave, right? And so after that, she got up and she was able to get some water and drink because she was, you know, screaming her lungs out there on the ground. That's an example of the Spirit guiding a situation. Now, the first, what I would call the Spirit taking over and or, you know, being embodied with it was when I was in jail, and I accepted it for the first time. Was, you know, prayed over. It was an interesting concept. For those of you who haven't seen my testimony, I talk about it in other videos, but I had an addiction to all kinds of different drugs and everything really, and I was really in a state of wanting to kill myself before I went to jail. And the Spirit took me and changed me instantly to where I didn't have the drug addiction anymore, and I also was in a state of peace, yeah, amongst disharmony, amongst crazy stuff going on. And that was what I felt it as. Now I've never experienced it like Samson or like Yeshua, which was the fullness of the Spirit. Spirit. You had the entire thing. I mean, I think there's a certain level of anointing people get, and then there's some that you see that have this level that is not something we see every day. And what it's interesting study, you know. And I always wondered, what did they choose by these people? Why would some of them have the Spirit more? And most of them, you see from birth an angel coming to the mother telling them to keep them off grapes and to keep them, you know, Nazarite vow type thing. And you see that kind of stuff going on. So I don't know. I mean, I wish I understood everything. I can't say that I do. But I would say that it's an important thing to seek in our lives and to seek the understanding of the Holy Spirit. And I don't believe the Holy Spirit will ever do something that is not holy or righteous and according to His Word. And so I think it's important to be able to test any spirits that we receive. And so, anyways, yeah, I think that's important. I can't remember the question now.
Well, how I would answer that is if one way to test if you're spirit filled is to if you can handle snakes. That aspect alone tells you right there. And I joke, but in all actuality,
I was like,
so
whoa,
many
man. Chris is handling over here.
right. No, but I will say this. You know, the role of the Spirit is to guide you to truth and to cause you to walk in His ways, or to lead you to His ways, will lead you to His commandments, His Torah. So, you know, there's an aspect of, you know, people that maybe don't know some of these things, but that's a great place to start, you know. So everybody that's looking for the Spirit to guide you, walk in His ways, walk in His commandments, learn His commandments, because the Spirit's going to guide you to that. And it's a journey. So don't think you have to know everything off the bat or have to do everything perfect. You know, allow that Spirit to, you know, to guide you to that truth. And does that, you know, is that, you know, being filled in the Spirit? I'm not saying that is, but what I'm saying is allow Him to guide us to that truth, allow Him to reveal that, allow for that discernment, you know, because that's so important. I believe that's a role of the Holy Spirit, as well as is giving us that discernment. And you know, so that's how I would answer that. Is, you know, just like you, John, I don't know, but at the end of the day, here's what we do know, and here's what we can walk in, and here's the truth that we can cling to and hold to, and continue to learn. And I always tell people, this is a journey in our faith. You know, John has an amazing testimony. I see this all the time. I use your story all the time, John. You know, when you got saved, you got saved in jail. You didn't understand His Torah, right? And there's so many people in the Torah community that want, you know, they come to walking in His commandments. They want to throw away that saving grace moment where He just met you at your lowest place, saved you, and then you've learned how to love Him and obey Him and walk in His ways. And if we don't view that as spiritual maturity, but yet we view it as a new faith, we've missed the boat. And that's the thing. We're always constantly trying to, you know, mature in our walk and on our faith, and His commandments and His ways, His feast days, His Sabbath, these new things that we're discovering. These are the next journey of maturity in our walk that He's revealing to us. We're not learning them because somebody else told them. The Spirit is guiding us to these truths, and we're accepting them and then choosing to walk in them because of love and obedience and no other reason.
Definitely, because like when I came to believe, like I didn't even know if the Bible was legit, right? I had no idea. Like I had to be guided into the fact of the legitimacy of the Bible, right? You know, so I was at a point of like just childlike faith, Father, take me, do whatever, like here it is. And so anyways, I found this, with the Bible, I found this thing called the Torah code. This thing that was written, because I've been praying. I'm like, Father, like, how do I know that this is even like your word, right? The Torah. And so anyways, this thing popped up on my computer one time, and it was them doing equidistant letter sequencing in the Torah with, and finding a message in it. And they did this one that was really, really interesting. And it was the first time that anybody had ever done it, I believe. Like, they were looking through these Hebrew letters. Every certain equidistant means they're going from like every 50th letter or every 75th letter or every 100th letter or whatever, and they're forming something along those lines by going through there equidistantly. And after looking at the chances of that being able to tell an individual story, unique story, and as well be a message within a message like that, it opened up my eyes to looking at the Bible. And so I picked up a Bible and I read it from the beginning and all the way through to the end. And by the time I was done, I realized that I didn't have a lot in common with the doctrines I grew up to believe anymore. I didn't know there was anybody else out there like that. I had no idea what was going on. But it took me, I think, 2 years to find anybody else. I didn't even know there was anybody out there, man. Like, when I say that I had no idea that anything like this existed, I didn't know. But I happened to have one of the church channels, I think it was Church Channel or something, on TV, and I saw a guy named William Schnoblin on there, and he was talking about some of this stuff, and I was like, wow, there's other people kind of similar. And so, anyways, it's interesting how it all plays out. But yeah, Torah didn't bring me to salvation. I had no idea what that was, but salvation brought me to Torah and into other things of the scripture.
Awesome. Well, hey, I think we've reached. You went almost 2 hours with us here, just right on that. So I want to be respectful of the rest of your night. Hopefully, you got some new stuff that you can go right to, or you're going to go crash. One of the two is going to happen, or your brain's going to be working somehow. But yeah, I'll give this opportunity if you want to, share anything else on your heart, and then we'll close out, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you at Take on the World, and hopefully maybe we can get out to some of the other things in between. So
Yeah, basically, I would just say, thank you guys for listening to what I had to say tonight. Thank you, Chris, for having me on. If you guys want to check out more of some of the stuff that we do, you can go to nystv.org. It'll take you to, we can find our YouTube. You can find the YouTube there. You can find other videos that we do. You can go to YouTube and type in NYSTV or NYSTV, just like it says here at the top here, and find us on there. And like I said, we have over 1,100 free videos that we do. We're working on other things right now. We're probably going to even tone back our shows down even more now than we did before, just to get to where we need to get to and what we need to do. I figured, like most people, I haven't even watched all the 90s TV shows. That's how many there are. So most people haven't. This will give them a chance to kind of go back and check some stuff out, and also to have quality stuff done weekly, and to be able to accomplish our goals with documentaries and things that we feel like can change the way people think. Hopefully, Amazon, it's going to be on our membership network, the new documentaries we're doing. We're planning on coming out with 2 this year. One of them is a flat earth documentary, and the other one I can't talk about right now, but it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a really good presentation. And so I want those to get out because we're going to have it on our membership network, and then we're also going to have it on Amazon Prime. So the goal is to get it out to as many people as possible, get them out, and to see how that venue goes, and work with that. So that's pretty much the last thing I want to put out, and I hope to see you guys at the conferences. And remember to love your brother, love people, and understand that nobody's perfect, and you can't expect other people to be that way. You have to plant seeds. You have to move forward. You don't know whose life you touch. You know, you may talk to one person, and it won't be 10 years from now that seed grows into something. I know there was a lot of people that planted seeds in my life that didn't see anything probably for who knows how many years, or if they ever saw anything because of when it happened. But you know, that's an amazing thing to think about. Is your words matter? Your the way you live your life matters, and just remember that. You know, try to be graceful to each other and love each other. I see a lot of arguments that I don't understand sometimes. You know, going on that make me wonder. You know how many people really truly understand grace that we need to be able to make this journey. So, anyways, that's pretty much it. I just want to say I appreciate it. Thank you to all you who listened, and it's definitely a blessing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great point, Jen. You know, walking in the aspect of grace and law, you know, obviously we pin, you know, everybody wants to pin it on two different sides, and it's grace and then it's law. No, there's a harmonization, and that is where the perfect picture resides. And so I'm going to sign off. John, thank you so much for being here. We're going to be doing more of these shows. Tonight, well, it wasn't so secret. I let the cat out of bag early, like I said early, but you will never know when we're going to pop up with one of these shows, because the guest doesn't even know half of the time, and I don't even know half of the time. If I feel like, hey, let's do a show, I got time, it's going to happen. So you want to make sure you subscribe. So please subscribe, follow us, and we got some shows coming up. We're going to be doing Flat Out Insights, a Canon Quest show this month. We're going to be doing the Return of Biblical Health. I promise it's coming. We're going to be doing that. Disputed Lands, of course. Crossing over, reality distortion effect. So much stuff. And if I forgot some, they're coming. So check out our channel and takeontheworld19.com. Make sure you guys go there. So love you guys. Have a great night. And thank you, John, for being here. See you guys soon. Bye now.